And so would you guys call yourself a feminist?
Yes, I am a feminist.
I am a feminist.
Yes, I'm a feminist.
Yeah, I'd say I'm a feminist.
Yeah, I think I am a feminist.
I am a feminist, yeah.
I would define a feminist as someone who believes in equality for all genders.
Everyone should be a feminist.
Yeah.
Men, women, everybody. Just because, like, what feminism is, it's just equality. Like,
Feminism, I think it's all about equality, regardless of race, gender, sexuality. It's for everyone.
I always think that I like to think that I'm like a difference feminist mixed with like a liberal feminist. I think that it's important that we're all equal and that we're all respected. And I think that each individual has their own experience, and so you have to take that into account. It's not as simple as like, this is the umbrella of women or the umbrella of men.
It's changed like a lot, like the reasons why people be feminists, because I think a lot of people have gone through like a phase where they're like, oh, I don't think I need feminism because I'm like not aware of like, but as you get older you sort of realise the realities and you start to like pick apart the ideas and like how they impact your life and like why things are the way they are, and then I think that's why I've probably become more of a feminist now, especially with like some more like stuff that you see in the news about actually like how dangerous it is and like scary it is to live in like our society right now.
Men have this perception of women are here and men are here, and women want to be higher than men. That isn't the case. Men are here and women are here, and we just want to equalise it and balance it out, and that's what I believe it is.
Like learning about like the male gaze and stuff has definitely changed the way that I like watch a lot of movies and stuff. Like I can't, like at this point I can't watch media like movies and stuff anymore without thinking like this was written by a man, because it's obviously like it's not considering, and I think that's really damaging, because I think that's like, I think a lot of the objectification in media and stuff and like what men see growing up, they don't learn to see from a woman's perspective, and I think that ties directly into violence against women, because they don't like, it's the objectification thing. It's like they don't see women as like beings with their own like minds and lives that don't revolve around them, so they'll take out their frustration.
I love to be like, this is the male gaze and here's why, because it's everywhere. You really can't escape it. And I love to watch feminine gaze movies and just have a break from it, like to see something that I can relate to that's not, you know, this is what a man wants and this is how a man wants the world to be.
The media, in the rise of like influencers and stuff like that, there's an image that's being produced of women and what they should be and how they should look: no hair, curvy figure, to the point where that's become so ingrained in society that if you don't look like that, it can produce a lot of hatred.
and just, it's very prevalent in, you know, how they just make women look so much more youthful, and if they're older they're never the like love interest if they're the older woman, or if they're you know, not every woman in a film is attractive, do you know what I mean? It's never just like
Normal.
just a regular looking girl, you know, just every woman is pretty, but you know what I mean, they're always just like the picture perfect version of what a woman should be.
I think media sexualizes every woman, regardless of age.
A lot of media beauty standards seem very like paedophilic almost, because you have like, it's women should be demure and quiet and they should have no hair, and it seems very much like it's catering towards a specific, and like the fashion industry, the more that you have these sort of sexualized views, the more that you have the fashion industry that follows with its clothing that is now traditionally what like a 21-year-old would wear is being marketed towards a 13-year-old.
And even with, especially with teenage girls, everybody expects them to grow up quickly.
I actually saw this thing on the internet the other day, on TikTok I think, and it was like in TV shows, whenever there's like a boy and a girl, the teenager is played by like a 16 or 17-year-old, and the boy who they're in a relationship is played with like a 25-year-old, and there's like a massive age gap. So it's kind of like reinforcing,
Like they don't care if it looks realistic.
Yeah.
They just
kind of paedophilic.
And you know, there's just, I think everyone's aware that the beauty standards nowadays is constantly changing. One minute it's, you know, thick women, skinny women, blonde women, brunette. It's just, it's constantly changing. So I feel like as a kind of whole, we need to just be aware of that and be aware that it's literally bullshit.
Yeah.
Like it's so bullshit. You go to different parts of the world and there's just the drastic change between beauty standard is, you know, it's just something you really need to consider when you take your self-image into account. I feel like, you know, you just need to be grateful your body is working, it's keeping you alive, and I feel like lots of girls, teen girls especially, do struggle with that, but they just need to be reminded that, you know, it's doing its best. Just trying to keep you alive, and, you know, you definitely look hot while doing it. So.
But I feel like when you get to a certain age and you go to school, like high school, at my school we didn't have like sex ed or anything like that, and a lot of schools don't now. And it's funny because, well, it's not funny at all, but when the list came out from ITV, the Everyone's Invited list with the 3,000 schools on it, I looked on there for all the schools that I had ever been to, and only one of them is on there. And I was first thinking that was great, but then by the same extension, I know people that have experienced harassment at school that weren't on that list. And I saw a woman talking about it, and she said, think about that list and if your school was on it, and then think, what was your sex ed like? And I feel like that is a fundamental part of growing up, is learning about all of that. And schools don't teach it, and I feel like that very much perpetuates into the slut-shaming culture that we have. This is a really big tangent, but the script that we have when it comes to like sexual interactions is very male-focused. Male pleasure, not female pleasure. You know, it's if you're a woman, you just won't enjoy sex. That's just how it is. But it shouldn't be. And I feel like as a young 13, 14, having those conversations with people around me, like my parents or like family members, largely influence, I think those kind of discussions largely influence the way in which you look at the world in that sense. And I feel like people who evade having those conversations with their children breed into a cycle of ignorance, and it is all down to influence because, like I said, we are a byproduct of everyone around us. And so if you grow up in an environment that does not talk about stuff like this, you are going to have a very big sense of ignorance when it comes to things like this.
All starts when you're a kid, always, because you're the most impressionable, and behaviour breeds behaviour.
The more that we can do, because it does start at home, is just in terms of feminism, try like the very basic step. If you cannot do anything else, be aware of the language that you're using, be aware of victim blaming, of gender-based language, of pronouns even. Like, try and be aware of the things that you're saying, and try not to perpetuate these attitudes about women.
Toxic masculinity is definitely a way to oppress women and criticize them for what they do.
I think these like demonization and these labels are really created by men to make us feel small.
It's like people hold like traditionally male interests at like a higher like caliber than the rest of kind of everything else. Like with music, I see a lot, it's like, oh, this is real music, and it'll be some like old like classic rock guy from like 50 years ago, and then it'll be like versus this, and who's literally a horrible person, and then it'll be like Katy Perry or something. It's like, look at the difference. But that's really like, it's also subjective, but it's always some sort of like male dominated. Like there's so much snobbery when it comes to like things that men like versus things that women like. It's like chick flicks versus action movies. It's just, and I think that makes a lot of women like become like, when you're a teenager, you're very like impressionable, and you like buy into this idea without even thinking about it, and it's just like, and you think that you're like making yourself seem more like intelligent towards like men, and they'll like respect you because you have like the good interests and you don't like stupid like girl stuff, like, but it's just so like, it's just really pointless because it's never like, you're never going to be respected as much as them if they have that mentality.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth it. Just like enjoy what you enjoy.
Like Twilight is stereotypically for girls.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't matter whether it's good or not. Because if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. But with like superhero films, a lot of them are like pretty bad and like cliche, but they're still respected because they're just for boys.
Yeah.
Like if a girl watches like Marvel, she's like kind of cool. But if a boy watches like Twilight, he's like, ew.
You should always try to read from as many different viewpoints as you can, because looking at things through the white male gaze is never going to give you a rounded view of the world.
Yeah, I mean, there's been loads of times when I've like pretended to not like stuff.
Yeah. And especially at secondary, like people judge you for everything.
I even felt it in primary because I like to wear pink and skirts. My best friend was like, I'm gonna wear blue and trousers, so I just pretended to do that for years.
Yeah.
And that's-
So many things make me angry. Oh my god. So many things. I think the double standards between men and women.
The other thing is, you know, when a girl is assaulted and when a boy is assaulted, all the boys are like, if the roles were reversed, that's not the point. And even if you want to talk about it, it's even for boys, people don't usually believe them. They're like, it's a boy. It maybe he liked it. Boy is stronger. How could he have gotten assaulted? So that is everywhere.
Yes.
In every aspect. It's I have seen those court videos about convictions of people who have raped, and they are very, very brutal. At first, women have to go through such limits. They have to push their limits to get evidence. They have to relive their trauma again and again, and then the court is like, well, it seems like he was your friend or he was your boyfriend and he was in a relationship, so it might not be what you say it is. It might be consensual. No, it's not. It's not. Consent can be taken away. Even if I am in the middle of something, I can say, no, I don't want to do that. And if it does that, that's assault.
Feminism has never been perfect. It's always been flawed.
There is a focus on cis straight white women because that's kind of where it started. You know, you look at the suffragettes and you think, well, that's the beginning. And there have been waves of feminism, and I think we will get to a point where everybody can tell their story and everybody can talk about how they feel, but it's definitely not going to be easy because it's not been easy to get to this point.
So like, as soon as white women make any kind of progress, we just sort of put it down and leave it. And it's like Sarah Everard, again, I'm going to use her as an example, a white woman was murdered, and it was horrible, and it was definitely rooted in feminism and toxic masculinity. But by the same extension, we don't pay that much attention to people like Blessing, that was murdered, and like Sandra Bland, who was killed by police. We don't seem to extend the same. We give a voice to white women to use, and then we seem to take that away when it's not needed for them anymore.
I think, yes, it's mainly focused on white cis women, but I think these days they are including everyone because everybody is speaking up, because even in the past, in the history, feminism was like started when white women were more acceptable in society, which is really horrid because why would you just disregard people who are of color?
I feel like if your feminism is not intersectional enough, if your feminism does not include POC women or trans women or people who may not traditionally look like women, then I don't think you can class yourself as a feminist.
And I think in the future, like, we should try and move away from gendering everything. But there is also it is relevant that some stuff is like kind of gendered, because when women are still oppressed in society, like, it's not like, oh, it's the same for everyone, don't make a big deal out of it, but it isn't. So I think it's still like it's still important to like talk about how like it changes stuff. But in the future, definitely.
We set these divides so rigidly that this is why I think a lot of people struggle to understand the non-binary identity, because we set boundaries so rigidly that they struggle to fathom the blending of two, because they are so set in their own. People cannot understand, their brains do not physically realize and like take note that you don't have to be one or the other. You can be a mix of both. But because we set these roles so rigidly, people get confused because they're like, you don't fit the archetypes that we've got, so what the fuck? But I think labeling is great. I know a lot of people find comfort in labels. Labels are ever evolving to better allow people to better express their identities. But by the same extension, labels aren't for everybody. Not everybody finds comfort in labels. Not everybody wants to ascribe themselves a label because sexuality is ever changing. So respect labels. I mean, you don't have to understand them, but respect them. But also respect people that choose not to have labels.
Yeah, I think the media and art has really shaped me. I think I got to a point where I just started craving and wanting some kind of relatability. I wanted to look at something and think, oh, that's like me. Like, that's me. And I think I had a really bad patch, and I had an eating disorder, and it got really quite bad. And I think what really helped me was to like stop and change my social media, like unfollow people on Instagram who weren't healthy, and really try and push and drive to follow good people. And I think, you know, artists and media that really do surround feminism and that talk about the issues that I care about and make me feel like I'm not alone in the world has really helped, because I feel lonely all the time.
Incredibly for me, I was raised in an all-woman family. My mum was a single parent from the day I was born, and so, you know, just watching her just care for our family and just care for me, and in all the, like, you know, beauty that she does it's just something that really, she is an idol to me, because, you know, she's just doing her thing. She's just making the most of what she's got, and I feel like that's so inspiring to just look up to know that, you know, she's killing it, like, so can I. And it's the same with my friends, you know. I find inspiration in the people around me. I think, like, yeah, all my friends are amazing, all my female friends and my male friends, but
That women can't do better. Why do you think women can't lead? They definitely can. It's just they have been oppressed. They have been taught to be silent. But I think people are evolving. Women are getting braver, as they should be, to raise themselves and raise others in a way that everybody is equal and they can lead.
I feel like there is such a problem in our generation, especially, that everyone is aware of these kind of like beauty standards, and everyone kind of just like dismisses them as bullshit, yet we are still the ones like buying into it and, you know, like editing our pictures and doing all that. So I think that's a real problem, and it needs, like, you know, I guess there's nothing you can do. It's kind of a lose-lose thing, like being told to do this, but then you're also being told to have an opinion. But
Give a piece of advice to your teenage self, but like early teenage self, so like 13, 14, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't know, 'cause I wouldn't go by it now. Still.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think mine would just be to be more confident. And like not care too much about what people think.
Yeah.
Which I still kind of need to do now, but I'm better at it than I was before.
Yeah.
like when I was younger, I tried really hard to be different, because, you know, I think having these beauty standards thrown in your face constantly, it forced me to just kind of want to not be like that. So the advice I'd give myself is to just not care so much what everyone thinks. You know, I was doing everything so that I would appear a certain way, and so that other people would think that of me, but it's just more about your self-image is the most important thing, you know, self-love, and just doing what you think is best and what you think is right is just, you know, the way forward. And
Yes, just hold on. We don't, let's say, don't differentiate between men and women.
I think I'd tell her that she has to go through everything. I know that she doesn't want to, but she has to face everything to come to where she is now.
there's a huge contradiction in between the reality and kind of the idealized standard that we're all trying to live up to.
Probably like it's gonna be alright in the end, but it's probably just like talk to people more. I'd still say that to myself now. Like I'd say that to myself like 2 months ago. I say that to myself today. Like just literally like don't be scared of stuff all the time. Just like don't worry about stuff.
I think I'd like to add that you aren't alone in how you feel. I often feel so lonely, and it's just whatever you're experiencing, wherever you come from, there is love out there for you. There's happiness and there's contentment, and you will have good days and bad days because that's what life is. But you got this. So, yeah.